Can you treat prolactinomas naturally? Let's talk about it. Prolactinomas are benign tumors on the pituitary gland that can cause some serious side effects if not treated. Prolactinomas are prolactin-secreting adenomas. Prolactinomas are categorized by size. Microadenomas are smaller than a centimeter and can be treated medically. Macroadenomas are larger than a centimeter and usually have to be removed surgically. Most prolactinomas can be shrunk by dopamine agonists. A dopamine agonist is a medication that raises dopamine levels. Dopamine is secreted by your hypothalamus and inhibits prolactin production, which is why it's called prolactin inhibiting hormone. When your hypothalamus is dysfunctional and does not produce enough dopamine, prolactin levels will rise. Your hypothalamus produces prolactin releasing hormone, which stimulates the pituitary gland to release stored prolactin. We can measure prolactin in your blood. If your prolactin levels are grossly elevated, we suspect a prolactinoma and must do an MRI to confirm. When you have high levels of prolactin, you may have symptoms of milky breast discharge because prolactin induces breast milk production. Both women and men can experience this milky discharge called galactorrhea. You may also have headaches. The pea-sized pituitary gland sits in a bony saddle called the sella turcica. A prolactinoma increases the size of your pituitary gland, creating intense pressure, which you experience as headaches. Prolactinomas can also cause visual disturbances because the optic nerve runs close to the hypothalamus and pituitary gland. Pressure on the optic nerve by a prolactinoma can cause those visual disturbances. In women, high prolactin levels inhibit estrogen production, causing irregular periods, infertility, and sometimes menopausal symptoms like hot flashes. In men, high prolactin inhibits testosterone production, causing infertility and erectile dysfunction. In both sexes, prolonged high prolactin levels can cause osteoporosis. I recommend checking prolactin levels between 8 and 9 a.m. At that time, they should be under 9 nanograms per milliliter, which indicates your hypothalamus is producing enough dopamine to inhibit prolactin production and its release. If you have a prolactinoma, your prolactin level will be much higher than the normal range for your gender. So, can you treat prolactinomas naturally? While surgery is necessary to remove macroadenomas, microadenomas can be managed using dopamine agonists. I have found that supporting your hypothalamus with Genesis Gold and sometimes some extra sacred 7 amino acids helps to keep prolactin levels in a much more normal circadian rhythm. If the patient has a microadenoma, meaning a prolactinoma that's smaller than a centimeter and the levels of prolactin are not excessively high, we can just use hypothalamic support. But if the prolactinoma is approaching 1 centimeter and the levels of prolactin are very high, we do need to use a dopamine agonist to induce dopamine production so that we can shrink the prolactinoma. It may take up to 2 years to shrink it. We follow prolactin levels and do follow-up MRIs. There are 2 types of dopamine agonists, long-acting capergoline and short-acting bromocriptine. Unless the prolactin levels are excessively high, I use bromocriptine once in the morning to simulate natural hypothalamus circadian dopamine production. I don't want to necessarily lower prolactin at night as I'm trying to reset the circadian rhythm. There has been some data that shows that using chasteberry can help to lower prolactin, but in my clinical experience, I haven't found that chasteberry has been very effective. Chasteberry actually increases prolactin levels in men. If you have any questions about prolactinomas, please join me in our hormone support group where I answer your questions live. You can get access by signing up for my free hormone reboot training. If you have symptoms of a prolactinoma, headaches, visual disturbances, milky discharge from your nipples, you need to be seen as soon as possible. Endocrinologists usually treat prolactinomas medically, but you may need to be referred to a neurosurgeon if you have a macroadenoma. I'll see you in the next video.